You just wanted attention. You were being an attention whore. Because your basketball couldn't do it.
The WNBA just dropped the hammer on Angel Reese. And it's way worse than anyone expected. Lifetime ban, career over, but here's what's really messed up. Her coach is going down with her. Teresa Weatherspoon, a legend in her own right, is facing suspension too.
If you're her coach and you care about her, you're not doing this. You shouldn't be making the focus another statistic.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. You know what's crazier? This whole thing started because Reese couldn't even afford her rent on a WNBA salary. She was breaking records on the court, but broke off it. Now, the Chicago Sky are suing her, saying she ruined their season. It's a total disaster, and we're about to break down every shocking detail.
People in sports figures, are you kidding me? A woman that rebounds and shows up half naked to games.
Remember when Angel Reese was the talk of the town? NCAA champion, trash talking queen, endorsement deals coming out of her ears. She was on top of the world, living the dream. But fast forward to today, and you won't believe what's happening. Reese is struggling to pay rent on her WNBA salary. Yeah, you heard that right. The basketball superstar who was supposed to take the league by storm can't even keep a roof over her head. Let's break down the numbers, because this is where it gets wild. Reese's rookie contract, a measly $74,000. Her monthly rent, $8,000. Do the math and you'll see why she's in a world of trouble. That's more than half her salary just on housing. And we're not talking about some fancy mansion here. This is just basic living expenses in a big city. But wait, it gets worse. Reese isn't alone in this financial mess. Most WNBA players are barely scraping by. We're talking about elite athletes here, not part-time workers. These women are the best of the best, but they're living paycheck to paycheck. Imagine being at the top of your game, representing your country, and still having to worry about making ends meet. It's insane. You know what's even crazier? While Reese and her fellow players are struggling, the WNBA is raking in record profits. TV ratings are up, merch is flying off the shelves, the league is swimming in cash, but the players are drowning in debt. How does that make any sense? So why can't Angel Reese afford her rent on a WNBA salary? It's not because she's bad with money or living some lavish lifestyle. It's because the system is rigged against her and every other player in the league. The WNBA's salary cap is a joke compared to other pro sports. These women are expected to be world-class athletes, role models, and marketable stars, all while earning less than some entry-level office jobs. And here's where it gets really messed up. The league knows this is a problem. They've known for years, but instead of fixing it, they're just expecting players to suck it up and deal with it. They're telling them to get second jobs in the offseason, to play overseas, to make ends meet. But that's not a solution. It's a band-aid on a gaping wound. So what gives? Why are players like Reese left high and dry while the league is swimming in cash? It's a combination of factors: outdated revenue sharing models, lack of investment in player development, and a general undervaluing of women's sports. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to one thing: greed. The people at the top are getting rich, while the players who make the league what it is are struggling to survive. While the league's bigwigs count their cash, players like Reese are facing a different kind of pressure. How far would you go to keep your dream alive when you can't even pay rent? Imagine being Angel Reese right now. You've got bills piling up, your landlord's breathing down your neck, and you're expected to perform like a superstar every single night. That's not just pressure. That's a full-on pressure cooker ready to explode. You're not just playing for wins anymore, you're playing to keep a roof over your head. Every missed shot, every turnover, it's not just hurting your stats, it's threatening your livelihood. And let's talk about the competition. Caitlin Clark is out there breaking records left and right, stealing all the headlines. How are you supposed to compete with that when you're worried about making rent? Reese is feeling the heat and she's trying everything to stay relevant. Trash talk, check. Social media beefs, you bet. Anything to keep the spotlight on her and maybe land those sweet and endorsement deals. But here's the thing, when you're desperate, when you're pushed to the brink, sometimes you start looking for shortcuts. And that's where things get really messed up. Some players, desperate for an edge, start whispering about performance enhancers. They're willing to risk it all for a bigger paycheck, for a chance to stay in the game. It's not just about winning anymore, it's about survival. You know what's the craziest part of this whole steroid scandal that nobody's talking about? It's not just about cheating or breaking rules. It's about a system that's so broken, so unfair that players feel like they have no other choice. When you're working your butt off day in and day out and you still can't make ends meet, what are you supposed to do? The rumors are flying. Players are talking in hushed tones about who's using what, who's got the hookup. It's like a ticking time bomb, just waiting to go off. And right in the middle of it all, Angel Reese, a young star with the world at her feet, pushed to the brink by a system that's set up to fail her. Angel Reese wasn't the only one feeling the pressure. Her coach, Teresa Weatherspoon, was about to make a call that would turn the Chicago Sky's season upside down. How does a team go from playoff contenders to league laughingstock in just a few weeks? It all started with one fatal mistake. Enter Teresa Weatherspoon, a WNBA legend turned coach. She's seen it all, but nothing could have prepared her for this. There's her star player, Angel Reese, struggling on and off the court. Weatherspoon's got a choice to make, and it's not an easy one. Does she play by the rules and watch her team, but Wayward and Reese fall apart? Or does she take a risk that could save them both? Here's where things go off the rails. Instead of addressing the real problem, you know, the whole players can't afford to live thing, Weatherspoon makes a decision that'll haunt her forever. She enables Reese. And we're not just talking about a pep talk or two. We're talking about crossing lines that can't be uncrossed. Weatherspoon starts turning a blind eye to some, let's call them unconventional training methods. She's not just protecting Reese emotionally, she's covering for her physically. And just like that, the team chemistry goes straight to hell. Other players are feeling sidelined, like they're being sacrificed for Reese's career. Can you imagine showing up to practice every day, busting your butt, and watching your coach bend over backward for just one player? You know what's crazy? This isn't just about one bad decision, it's about a whole series of choices that spiraled out of control. How did Reese go from breaking records to breaking rules in just one season? It's like watching a car crash in slow motion. You can see it coming, but you can't look away. The Chicago Sky's season, it implodes. They go from playoff contenders to league laughingstock in a matter of weeks. Their record after the Olympic break? A brutal 13 wins and 27 losses. That's not just bad, that's historically bad. And at the center of it all, Weatherspoon and Reese, a duo that gambled everything and lost it all. But here's the thing, can we really blame them? When you're backed into a corner, when you're desperate, sometimes you make choices you never thought you would. Weatherspoon saw a young star drowning and tried to throw her a lifeline, but instead of saving Reese, she ended up going down with her. Reese and Weatherspoon's fall from grace was just the tip of the iceberg. The WNBA was sitting on a powder keg and Reese's positive drug test was about to light the fuse. How does a league go from celebrating its stars to banning them for life in the blink of an eye? It all started with a bombshell announcement. Angel Reese tested positive for steroids. Just like that, the WNBA went into full panic mode. But this wasn't just about one player making a bad choice. This was about a whole system that's been broken for years, finally cracking under the pressure. The league's facing its biggest crisis ever. Fans are in shock, sponsors are pulling out left and right, and players, they're demanding change, and they're not being quiet about it. It's like watching a house of cards collapse in slow motion. Then came the hammer. Reese got hit with a lifetime ban. That's not just harsh, it's unprecedented. The WNBA's never gone this far before. It sent shockwaves through the entire sports world. People are asking, is this really happening? But here's the real question everyone's afraid to ask. Is Reese really the villain in this story? Or is she just a symptom of a much bigger problem? Think about it. We've got players who can't even afford rent, a league that's raking in cash but not sharing it, and a system that pushes athletes to the breaking point. You know what could have saved Angel Reese's career? It's so simple. It's almost laughable. Fair pay. That's it. If these players were making enough to live on, would they be tempted to risk it all on steroids? Would coaches feel pressured to cover for their stars? The WNBA is at a crossroads now. They've got two choices: double down on punishment and hope it scares everyone straight, or finally address the elephant in the room. player compensation. It's like they're trying to put out a forest fire with a water gun. Sure, you might stop one tree from burning, but the whole forest is still going up in flames. As the dust settles, one thing's crystal clear. The WNBA will never be the same after the Angel Reese scandal. This isn't just about one player or one team anymore. It's about the future of women's basketball. The league's got to make some big changes, and fast, or they might not have a league left to save. Alright, let's wrap this up. The Angel Reese saga isn't just about one player's epic fall from grace. It's a massive wake-up call for the entire sports world. We're talking about a system that's so broken, it's pushing athletes to the edge. Until we fix the real problems, fair pay, player support, and making the league step up, we're just waiting for the next big scandal to blow up in our faces. So what's next for women's basketball? That's where you come in. Yes, you, the fans. It's time to demand better for these athletes who pour their hearts and souls into the game. They're out there giving it their all, and they deserve more than just scraps. The future of the WNBA? It's in your hands now.